Everyone, welcome back. We've covered a lot. I hope you're getting the most out of this. This is going to be part five. And the last part, part four, we talked about referrals. Part five, we're going to cover workshops. And then we're going to get into key strategic partners in part six. So you've covered a lot. I hope you've had a chance to take some good notes, to go back and review. We will be creating a workbook out of this. The workbook will be for our guests at our live event. For those who are watching the videos, the reason the videos are free is we want to give you everything we can in the videos. However, the workshop is where the real value is. And that's because in the workshop, we take this theory that you're learning and we actually apply it. So, in workshops, the important thing that you need to understand is that your current best client already knows your next best client. You can call it birds of a feather. Your best clients are going to flock together. So, who you invite is critical. And before we get into the logistics of a workshop, I want to talk to you about who you invite. And this is very relevant. This is a quote from Maya Angelou. When people show you who they are, believe them. And what I mean is, you can't change somebody. If they are who they are, that's who they are. And the mistake we can make is trying to change them, or we can move on to the next person and figure out how to help them. So if somebody clearly doesn't want your help, move on. If somebody wants to take your help and not pay you, move on. So I'm going to start with an Einstein quote. And for the record, this is attributed to Einstein. There are some debates about whether or not he actually said it. And a lot of people don't like the first sentence. So if you want, you can leave it off. But the quote is, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And so we want you, if you're not willing to network, that's okay. But if you want to network, here's how you can do it better. So before we get into how to network, I'm going to talk about who to network with. And this is based on my understanding of a book that changed my life completely called Strategy of the Dolphin: Scoring a Win in a Chaotic World. And this book is by Dudley Lynch and Paul L. Cordes. I'm going to share my take on it. I highly recommend, if you get a chance, read the book. But there are three key types of people in business: there are dolphins, sharks, and carp. And I'm going to let you guess which is most dangerous, and I'm going to share in the end why. So dolphins, they believe in abundance, and their view of the world is, how do we all win? And by the way, I'll tell you who makes the good partners, who makes good clients, etc. So dolphins believe in abundance and they thrive in tough environments. They love a challenge. They are always looking for opportunity. They're vigilant. Sorry. Apparently some words can't be spoken. Ever vigilant. And they believe in elegant outcomes. They're always looking for things that are precise, clean, and simple. And with dolphins, they're looking for something that's sustainable and comprehensive. They're not looking for little things, they want big things that can last. And I love this quote from the book: they play finite games from an infinite perspective. And what dolphins really excel at is they focus on coping and choice making. And one of the things I find is that dolphins, they think about how they think and they're very aware of people around them. And the beautiful thing about dolphins, they hang out in pods and they protect one another. So their main strategies, if they see something where they can't win, they'll stay out. So they don't waste their time with things that don't matter to them. And their default is they always want to break through. So they're looking for bigger, better ways to do things. Now, sharks, on the other hand, they have a scarcity mindset, and their approach, their motto, if you will, is, I have to get as much as I can. And usually they look for their personal wins, whatever the cost. And their mindset is very much, I win, you lose. Now, the mistake they make is they tend to assume that dolphins are carp. The good news is, once they figure out they're not, they will back off. And the unfortunate thing about a shark, they're formed in childhood trauma. Usually, it's somebody who is bullied who decides as an adult, I will not be bullied, therefore, I'm going to be the bully. They are creatures of habit. They will keep repeating the behaviors over and over. And unfortunately, they'll go after their own ranks. So if they run out of carp, they realize they can't go after the dolphins, they'll eat other sharks. So swim with sharks at your own risk. There's always a loser. And their view is if I can't take over, I'll negotiate a lose lose so that we both save some face. So it's all about splitting up scarce resources. Now, the good thing about sharks is if they learn they can't beat a dolphin, they'll try to join them. And again, I want to tell you this, their behavior patterns repeat. So expecting a different outcome with a shark, you're going to be disappointed every time. Now, carp, I think they're great people. I also think for an entrepreneur, they can be the most dangerous because carp don't believe in abundance, they believe in scarcity, and they don't expect to ever have enough. And so they realize and they believe they can't win. So instead of trying to win, they're always playing defense and they focus on not losing. Their main strategies are flight or freeze. If they can't run away, they'll freeze and hope that the inevitable painful death happens quickly. They will go along with the herd. They're trying to avoid choice at all costs. Therefore, they also avoid personal accountability. And the way a carp plays, they either give in, so they'll just let the other person take their lunch, or they'll run away. So they'll get out, they'll take their stuff, and they'll run home. And like the shark, carp were formed in childhood. Past trauma, past behavior patterns will repeat. And in this case, they realize it's easier if you're going to be bullied, let the bully bully you and then go on. So they end up, the shark is usually the aggressor, the carp is almost always the victim. And you might not be surprised by this. Carp are the most dangerous thing for an entrepreneur because they will hang around, they'll ask you for your advice, they'll tell you how amazing you are, but literally they form a human barricade. If you're, say, they'll ask you for a quote, they'll take a lot of your time and they'll never give you money. And I will share a couple of questions you can use. So, positive sum games, this is how we play. And I will point out that dolphins play, sharks, everything's about work, and carp tend to focus on the drudgery of life. So, if you want to identify a dolphin, a shark, or a carp, you want to ask them about their ambitions and their views on philanthropy. Because dolphins usually have big ambitions and they usually have a passion project they're working on. Carp tend to be a little more focused on survival. Sharks are always talking about how they're going to dominate something. So the language matters. And the important thing with dolphins is they always play positive sum games. So they're looking to make the world a better place through their interaction with others. And as I said before, if something isn't important, they won't get involved. If they don't think they can win, they stay out. If they play a game and they participate, they're always looking for that breakthrough. And most dolphins look for triple wins. It's I win, you win, and the world's a better place. I've seen quintuple wins where there's five different parties at least benefiting. Now, sharks play zero sum games. Either they take over everything and they win and you lose, or they'll trade off and you'll split the scarce resources. Now, carp, they're dangerous because they can play a zero sum game where they'll give in and let you have their lunch money, as we've talked about, or they'll play a negative sum game where they'll take everything and leave. So, carp are all about safety. And again, that's not a bad thing. And for the record, none of this is a judgment. It's just an awareness of who we are and who we serve. So the reality is, you need to tailor your marketing, you need to tailor your relationship building, and you need to tailor your products and services to the audience you want to serve. Now, the default seems to be a lot of marketing and stuff is done to carp, and it's, about buying insurance and protecting yourself. Whereas when you're marketing to a dolphin, dolphins want to talk about their impact. They want to talk about how the world's going to be a better place. Whereas sharks, they don't want the long story. They just want to know what's in it for them. So that's the thing. If you are serving one of these audiences, you need to be clear because everything you do will either attract or repel the right audience. And for the record, we talked before about, best clients. If you've got a lot of carp, they're going to clog up your help desk, your support desk. They're going to demand a bunch of time and attention. And they're going to say, I'm a good customer. I pay you $5 a year. Pay attention to me. Whereas a dolphin will be, I'm a $1 million customer. Get to me when you have a chance, but here's what I'm looking for. And a shark will say, I want attention now, give it to me or else. So, who you serve is going to impact the business you have. Now, more importantly, how you show up is going to impact the business you have and who you serve. And the beautiful thing about dolphins, they tend to be in pods, they hang out in groups. So, if you connect with one dolphin, you're going to connect with a whole bunch of others. Sharks tend to be very predatory. They're always hunting, so they're alone. And carp, they're also in big groups, but usually they're tripping over each other to get something or they're fighting over scarcity of something. So, how you show up is really, really important. And the reality is, a lot of sharks have learned, oh, I'll just show up and pretend I'm a dolphin. A little spoiler alert, most dolphins can detect a shark. Your behavior will out you in the end. So you're better off to show up and say, look, I'm a shark. Here's how you want to deal with me. Let's be friends. Rather than trying to say, oh, look at me, I'm a dolphin. And again, carp, nothing wrong with them at all. But if you're, say, a coach or a mentor, you want to write a book that you can give them so they can consume on their own time because they're not going to buy your $10,000 program. And that's the other thing. If you look at the dolphins, they're going to be the better customers. They're going to be more loyal. They'll refer. Whereas the sharks and the carp, um, if you're a coach, for example, sharks show up to your seminars. They want your content. As soon as they get it, they rip it off. And next thing you know, you've just trained your competitor. So it's up to you. But the reality is, who you serve and how you show up will impact everything in how you put your business together. And by the way, when you're doing workshops, you want key strategic partners as dolphins. That is the ultimate win, is if you've got dolphins who are key strategic partners. If you're paying somebody to promote and fill the event, sharks make perfectly good partners, just have a good contract in place. And the reality is, you can have an audience that is either carp, shark, or dolphin. If your audience is predominantly carp, I applaud you. They need help just like anyone else. Find smaller bite-sized things because carp are going to be really suspicious if you offer them 100 times growth or 10 times growth. Carp tend to focus their goals and ambitions on being marginally better than they were yesterday. So you're going to stretch them too much if you offer too much growth. So we have a dolphin manifesto, and basically, we'd like to share that a dolphin is a new breed of entrepreneur. They're very impact driven, focused, connected, and above all, fun. Dolphins play well with one another and make the world a better place in the process. Dolphins love to tackle global issues head on and they win together. And as I said earlier, dolphins build triple win relationships. The goal is to be stronger together. And dolphins rarely ask for permission to succeed, and they're never willing to accept limits. They're always the ones who just do it because they know they can. And one of the things I find, dolphins build value and put people before profits, which means they do in the end receive profits. And the thing I love most about dolphins is whenever you ask the experts or gurus, they will tell you that what dolphins are doing is impossible, and yet we make things happen every single day. So, what I love about dolphins is they define their own destiny, they create their own outcomes, they build their own empires. Their goal is to change the world for the better, and they are motivated knowing that they are just one key strategic relationship away. I am a dolphin. Are you? So, with that, we're going to get into workshops, but I can't stress enough people have ripped off my content, people have ran with it, and they failed because they missed the fundamental word relationship. Everything I do, everything I teach is built on the one presumption that you want to build authentic relationships in business. If you aren't interested in authentic relationships, guess what? You might have short term success, but it won't last. So I believe that healthy, positive business relationships are vital for our emotional and physical well being. Positive relationships, I'm going to define them because apparently it's not clear to everyone. They include kindness, mutual respect, trust, honesty, feeling safe, feeling valued, support, and empathy. So just imagine the power if you could build authentic relationships with your best clients and with your key strategic partners. So this is one of my favorite quotes from the manufacturing world. Charles Kettering was, I don't know, maybe he still is. He was in charge of innovation at General Motors, and he loved to say that a problem well stated is half solved. So here's the beautiful thing. If you're doing a workshop, and we're going to get into the nitty gritty next, but if you're doing a workshop, helping your participants define their problem and understand why they have the problem is half the battle. So you can add an enormous amount of value just by helping people understand the problem. So a lot of people ask me why you'd want to do workshops. The easy, the fastest answer is it allows me to nurture relationships with my existing best clients. The other thing is it allows me to nurture relationships with key strategic partners. And as a group, we can share ideas and ultimately attract my next best client. Now, the other thing, especially with the age of Zoom, workshops can be very low cost but high value. And even in the real world, you could do a workshop if you've got a boardroom. One of the things I find a lot of professional service places, they have these big boardrooms that sit empty, and once a month they use it for a staff meeting. Why not use it as a client meeting once a week, twice a month, every other month, whatever it is? But invite all your best clients to sit around your boardroom and talk about business. So it's very low cost, very high value, and it allows you and your strategic partners to demonstrate both authority and expertise. And the beautiful thing is, you will close deals without having sales pressure because a lot of people don't like to feel like they're being pressured, and a lot of people don't like to pressure others. A workshop, you're educating them, and if they like what you do, they'll ask to work with you. So when it comes to workshops, we want to focus. I like simple things. So ABC, we want to attract our ideal participants. We want to bond with them, and then we want to cultivate a relationship. So I'm going to talk about LinkedIn, and then I'm going to get into some actual workshop tips. LinkedIn is, in my humble opinion, one of the worst used tools and one of the least used tools. And I'm not going to blame anyone. I'm just going to say a lot of people think that LinkedIn is a sales platform exclusively, or the other one is it's just for recruiters and headhunters. LinkedIn is first and foremost a business to business networking tool. And so here's the beautiful thing. If you use it well, it will work for you. If you use it badly, it'll work badly for you. So before the workshop, you want to list your workshop on your profile, and you want to share, hey, everybody, here's the problems we're going to solve, and here's who should attend. So you want to be really clear. There's no mystery. Somebody reading it, they'll go, oh my God, that's me. I need to be there. And you want to share value related to the workshop's content. For the record, if you're listening to this or watching this, I'm breaking one of my rules. I'm giving away all the content for free up front because I want people who like the content to come to the workshop. If you don't like the content or you disagree with the content, you don't have to come to the workshop to find out. So I'm being a little bit more proactive because I can. You may not have that luxury or you might not be comfortable with it. But honestly and sincerely, I don't want somebody at a workshop who feels they have to be there. I only want people who know they belong there. And then you can use LinkedIn to reach out and invite people. And you might want to share updates like, hey, I've got my slide deck done. I've got this done. I'm working on the workbook. What questions do you have? If you do it right and well, LinkedIn is a great place to promote and fill your workshop. And again, if you're using key strategic partners, which is the next video, it's a great way to elevate your partners as well. And then again, after the workshop, you want to follow up with attendees. You might want to share some collateral, ask them for comments. My favorite post workshop question is, what was your biggest takeaway? And I ask that because sometimes their biggest takeaway is something I hadn't even considered. So I want to make sure maybe that's something I talk about more next time. Now, here are some workshop tips. And full disclosure, I could do an entire workshop just on workshops. I have friends who do this. The reality is there's a lot of nuances. The right tools make a big difference. Keep it simple. Don't get hung up on the content, focus on the participants. Some of my best workshops have been me and a whiteboard, and I ask the audience, say, what questions do you have for me? Okay, let's cover those. So you read the room, you understand, and find ways to add value. So, what I like to recommend for my people is identify key problems you can solve. For example, maybe you sell running shoes. You can teach people how to properly fit a running shoe. Maybe you sell pet food. You can teach people how to make their pets healthy or keep them healthy. So ask yourself and your best clients, what are the biggest pain points that they turn to you for help? And I really encourage you, call your best clients and ask them, I'm curious, I'm working on a workshop. Why did you choose to work with me? And use their words because that's what other people will buy is their description of the problem. And ask yourself, what are the hot topics that your best clients want to know about? For example, there was a time I was an accountant. I ran an accounting practice. I brought in digital marketers. I brought in people who were really good at certain platforms, and I got them to show my clients how to do it better. And as a bonus here, if you really want your workshops to succeed, the first workshop you do as a dress rehearsal, invite only your best clients, top 10, top 20, whatever it is, and half the capacity of the room. So if you have a room that seats 20, you invite 10 of your best clients. And then what you want to do is have each of them bring a friend, colleague, or business partner. And what that does is you get to literally, if you have a room that seats 20, you get to meet 10 people that might be your next best client. Now, it's important in a workshop, do not death by slides, do not, um, put PowerPoint down their throats until they beg for mercy. Share some stories, make it interesting, ask them questions, let them ask you questions, and make sure you follow up afterwards and ask for feedback. So that's if you were doing it yourself, what you could do. I recommend that you look at a speaker series with your key strategic partners. And you want to ask yourself, who else do you know that would be willing to speak? Little spoiler, almost anybody who has a business that needs to grow will be happy to speak. I've, in my history of asking, I think I've been turned down twice out of thousands of times. And Focus on the topics that your best clients want to hear about. Maybe they care about climate change. Maybe they care about political reform. Maybe it's, economic rejuvenation. Whatever it is, bring in speakers that talk about that. And if you have a good speaker, they'll not only come and speak at your event for free, they'll co-promote it. So you might fill the room with half your clients, they might bring half their clients, and everybody wins. And as I said before, you want to leverage LinkedIn, you want to invite people, you want to share and promote. And also, I like to put a video or two on YouTube so that people know what's going on. Now, this is a quote from Jackie Onassis or Jackie Kennedy. Her quote I love was, "I want minimum information given with maximum politeness." And really, the way I see it is the workshop should change their world, change their mind with as little information as possible, but it should be fun and enjoyable. So, some of the tools I like to keep it simple. You can run a great speaker series with very little technology. I personally like to do virtual conferences. It's easy, very low cost. So I use Zoom. You can use PowerPoint or your favorite presentation tool. And then, of course, social media. Now, for a bonus, I use something like Eventbrite. If I'm doing a speaker series, I want Eventbrite to have those details, and I want to be able to keep it all in one place. We're not going to teach you the tools, but that's a conversation for another day, as I said. So, my last tips for workshop, and then we're going to get into key strategic partners. Um, I want to remind you that who you invite and how you invite them is critical. So, you want to be mindful. Are you looking to have dolphins, sharks, or carp in the room? And how you invite them will depend on who they are. What obstacles do they have to overcome before they can work with you? Target the workshop to solving those problems. So if they need to do something before they can come work with you, help them do that something. And then if you're looking and offering some sort of help, what kind of things do they need to know to be ready to work with you? And how can you add some value to them without before they work with you? So number one thing, back to Charles Kettering, a problem well defined is half solved. If you can help them get clear on how big the problem is, how much it's costing them, what mistakes they're making, give them some tips and action items, you've done an enormous job of adding value. And then think about, what collateral can I provide to guide them so that they can work for me or with me. So I'm making it easy for them to choose, and I'm helping avoid common mistakes. And ultimately, the question I'm going to have to answer before they hire me is, why would they choose to work with you over all other options? So I want to make that clear in the workshop. And then last but not least, I love to over deliver. So, what tips or insights can I share that make their lives better for having come to the workshop? And the goal is, you want to give them enough that they understand their problem, they understand you can help them, and they know whether or not they want you to help them. And the magic of that, you're not telling them how to solve their problem themselves. You're helping them decide if it's a problem they want to fix. Because if they do want to fix it, guess who they're going to call? So stay tuned. In the next section, we're going to talk about key strategic partners.